Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Please support them because they're supporting us, which effectively is supporting your industry. So great to have them on board once again, and of course they support a number of our segments on the show. Let's get into it though. Michael Guerin standing by in our Auckland studio off the back of a stellar night of harness racing from Addington Raceway. Hi to you, Michael.
Yeah, hi Greg. Big hi to everybody watching, whether it's at night or day, wherever you're catching up with the box seat. And yeah, last week was really good at Addington. This weekend, I think even better. In fact, I would say the best weekend of harness racing since COVID came into our lives. Way back at the first lockdown, we had big stuff Friday night at Alexandra Park. Normally that would be the highlight, but Thursday at Addington, we see the return of some proper horses, Group 1 horses. I think we're going to see an upset in the 3-year-old sire stakes, which is kind of weird because the 2-year-old sire stakes was only 2 weeks ago. Greg, the Victoria Cup has had a few twists and turns on Saturday night. And then, of course, we head to the grass at Methven, where the first and third favourites for the New Zealand Cup turn up. It really is, I know it's easy to hype these things, but really is the biggest week of harness racing, probably of 2020.
Yep, have to agree, Michael. So let's get straight into wrapping up Addington from last Friday night. It was a 5-star harness race meeting, and the biggest stake of the night was the New Zealand Bloodstock Harness Millions for the 3-year-old fillies. La Rosa had the barrier draw driven positively by Samantha Otley and did this.
But it's La Rosa, 120 to go, going great guns. La Rosa, Samantha Otley and Mark Jones. It's harness million time for the Burnham team. La Rosa won it, getting right away. Won it by 4. Shanika second, third to go by Ivana, fourth in Braveview Kelly.
I'm picking that's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it is, Greg. It's probably out there with Master Laros's Dominion wins, just to go through so many yearlings and look at them and pick 1 out of 500 to win the one race you get one chance at, and to have it right on the day, it's pretty satisfying.
It's a family you know well.
Yeah, I drove the grandmother and she caused a few headaches, but just been a great family, and that's what the owners supported. They like the family on the page, and the specimen fitted the page when we seen her, so they outlaid the money on the easy part, to take her home and train her, and when she's got ability, it makes my job easy.
Right, let's talk about the owners, because they've invested a fair bit with you. Grant Haddon heads the list, Jim Haynes, and you're in the ownership as well yourself, so it's great to reward them.
Yeah, it all comes from my father and grandfather, really. Grant Haddon's been with me from day one, and he's been a massive supporter in that. And Jim Haynes come along, he trained horses himself, and his father's great mates with my grandfather. And Michael Jones, who's in Furloins, he's been with Grant Haddon and my father as well. So it's been a family thing. It's just good to reward them when they put the money up. Had to put it up a bit myself, but we got it back. So when they outlay the money and give us the confidence to spend it, it's good to get the money back for them.
Right, you had a barrier draw to work with. That always helps in these types of races.
Yeah, it's a big thing over 1980, and a lot of bad luck stories behind us. They had traffic problems and we're out of trouble. So yeah, that's the luck you need. You just want no bad luck, and it's probably the winning the race, the draw really.
Right, Sam did an excellent job, rated it beautifully in front. What's ahead in the next few weeks?
We'll just work it out. She's got sire stakes in Auckland, but at this stage we're probably leaning towards the Breeders' Crown in November. Just means she can go to Australia, then fly into Auckland for the 3-year-old races at Christmas time in Auckland. So at this stage, the Breeders' Crown looks the main aim.
I spoke to Mark Jones just yesterday. That's not necessarily on the cards now. He's looking to really look after her, Michael. He's got a big opinion of her. Unlikely to go to the 2-year-old section of the sire stakes later in the month, of course, at Alexandra Park, but would probably be there for the 31st of December, the 3-year-old section of that. I know it's slightly confusing, but she was excellent. I thought Ivana OK had to sit parked. Shanika sat in the trail throughout, was a good spot to be in, obviously. And the 4th horse, Braveview Kelly, I think has a fairly big future on the performance she put up.
Look, I wasn't surprised the winner won. I was surprised how easily she won, Greg. She absolutely smashed them. And after the line, she was still going really strongly, which is a good indication that it wasn't just a case of having the draw and dominating. She's obviously improving all the time. He's obviously taken her along quite quietly because she hadn't won a race until the week before. The horses back in the field, a couple of bad luck stories, like Town Echo didn't have a lot of luck, but there wasn't enough there, Greg, to make me go, well, they just would have beaten the winner. So at the moment, I presume she's our top 2-year-old, 3-year-old filly, depending what crossover series you're getting yourself into. Interesting comments there about the Breeders' Crown. We spoke to Nathan Purdon a couple of weeks ago after their big win about whether Crew could go to the Breeders' Crown. I think a lot of people want to go, Greg, but I think the logistics of it are going to stop most people from fulfilling that dream. So I would suggest La Rosa, like many of our young horses, are probably going to stay home at least until this side of New Year.
All right, that 2-year-old filly's section of the Sires Stakes on the 30th of October. If she's not going there, well, the All-Stars trio, they head up the field. Better Twist is one of the favourites. In fact, $2.20, $2.50 about Darling Me and Ivana at $8.50. So those three at the top of the market, and the top two there, Better Twist and Darling Me, both have clearly a very good ability.
Look, I think there's a long way to go for this crop. I think they're coming out a lot earlier than usual. They're going to need to press on right through to potentially a Jules coming up next June. So I wouldn't be surprised, as tends to be with the 3-year-old fillies, unless it's an Adore Me type horse. There's going to be some ups and downs here, Greg. I can see one horse winning the early season races, maybe not the late season races, but in saying that, La Rosa's bred to be an Oaks horse, and she's bred to be worth an awful lot of money now too. So they paid big money for her. Well done to the team behind La Rosa, and also to Sam Otley, because you can't do a much better job than that. A lot of people thought the horse may not have any gate speed, Greg. She was aggressive early, and once she got to the lead, she never looked like being beaten.
No, that's right. Out of Safedra, she won 10. Out of Sparks of Flying, who was a multiple Group 1 winner. So you're right, it is a deep family. The horse that won the Consolation, All About Time's also from a good family, the family of Anthem, for the Barclay Alice team. And they had a pretty good night at Addington as well. Let's move on to the second of the Harness Million races. Out of My Way, trained by Paul Nairn, had Blair Orange sitting in the bike, and this was a very good performance from a horse with a big motor.
Yorick waits on the run. Son of Patrick comes wide with Out of My Way. Leaf Stride called upon. €1.5 cash. Franco Yorick Out of My Way. He's coming home very quickly. Franco Yorick got to Leaf Stride. Out of My Way held together. Franco Yorick Out of My Way. Franco Yorick and Out of My Way. They come to the post, and Out of My Way won it. Oh, the master, Paul Nairn.
Paul, you always had the confidence that he had a run like that in him.
Yes, he's been a nice horse right through. He's a good staying type of horse. I just probably haven't got him trotting quite as nice as I'd like. So, Blair did a great job of keeping trotting and got him round in one piece without having a gallop. And, it was a good one to get. Yeah,
it certainly was. The money was up, and the last 100 metres, he was taking a few fairy-like footsteps, but like you say, Blair did a great job to keep him down.
Yeah, no, he did a great job, and credit to the horse to keep trotting when he's obviously, there's just a few things we've got to work on to just get him trotting a bit more tractable.
Do you think as time goes on and as this family goes on, we know it's a deep family, that he's only going to get better, isn't he?
Well, he's quite a big horse, Greg. Those big types, especially Love You, you'd like to think that the more distance races for the 3-year-olds later in the season, probably, he's not going to mind that. Yeah.
Went through the yearling sales. He was bred by Peter Williams, and he bought him back, put the syndicate together, and a number of the old firm in terms of your owners, the red and white syndicate. So it's still a big thrill for you to win races for them, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I knew Peter, if he didn't get what he wanted for him, he was going to buy him back. So I went round and looked at him before the sale, and he was lying down in his box asleep, and I thought, well, that's a good sign.
Yep.
And I got him to break in, and he's a nice enough horse, so he's worth a try.
That's Paul Nairn. He knows which ones are worth a try, Michael, and he will go to the Sires Stakes, the Hara D Trotters Sires Stakes, but they're in a clump, these horses. He didn't get there by much. He's still got a few things to learn. Franco Yorick went really close. Eurocash was excellent. Son of Patrick. There's a lot of very talented trotters, 3-year-olds, going around, isn't there?
Yeah, well, it's been an unusual season, Greg, for the obvious reason they've had to bring these 2-year-olds up later in race in these delayed 2-year-old races. And again, most of these horses would never be seen till November or December. So the trick's going to be holding some of them together. We've seen Regal Attire is gone for the spring. He won't be the last one. I think some of the smaller, more natural 2-year-olds, Greg, we saw over the winter might struggle to keep up with a horse like this horse if he keeps improving his gait. Bit of cleaning up to do there, but Paul's very good at shoeing his horses, so he'll get that sorted at some stage, and natural strength will take care of that. Last week on the show, Greg, I actually said this is my tip for the New Zealand Trotting Derby, a bit tongue-in-cheek, and we had to cut the show because there was too much good stuff in it, so we cut it out of the show, Gregory. Thanks for that. But I really do think he's got that feel about him, because most of the other good ones, maybe with the exception of Leaf Stride, Greg, look more natural early-going horses than he does. So he's the horse who might keep improving, and you can see Blair half kidding to him all the way around Addington. But when they hit the line paying $16, I think it was fixed, or 19s on the tote, Greg, and Paul Neon's colours are on board, you sort of think afterwards, how did we all let him go around at that price? Well, I guess we won't again for some time. Interesting to see how he goes up against a bit of Muscle, his stablemate, next time over those shorter trips, but over the longer trips, Greg, I think he's going to have the wood on most of these.
We need to have a box seat extra maybe on our Twitter handle at Box Seat NZ with all those extra bits. Michael, let's have a look.
Well, we're going to put all the things we get wrong as well, Greg, because there's plenty of those as well. And by the way, they haven't run the Trotting Derby yet, so there's no guarantee
exactly.
I'm going to be right.
Let's have a look at the Hara D Trotters size stakes and bit of Muscle heads up the market for this, Michael. $3.50, Leaf Stride $4.60, Euro Cash I thought was very good because he missed a race the week before, and I reckon he's as good as any of these. He's $6 and out of my way there at $6 as well. So it's an interesting contest that'll be held at Addington Friday week.
Yeah, look, and again, it's exactly like all the other 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, maybe with the exception of the Krug. It's all about Faith Bunch, because I think they'll continue on through the season and potentially dominate the derbies, Greg. But I really do think there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing, because these horses, more or less, Greg, have 1-year campaigns in front of them. Now, they'll get a bit of time off in the middle, but by the time they race through here, they might have a break over Christmas, but it's going to be an awfully long time, Greg, and it would need to be an incredibly good horse to dominate any of these crops. As I said, maybe Krug, and it's all about Faith can do that, American dealer type horses, but I think with these guys and the 3-year-old fillies, Greg, there's going to be some chopping and changing, and that gives punters an opportunity to pay attention to where they're going, match that up with the futures markets, and see if you can get an advantage over the bookmakers.
The Brecon Farms trotting performance of the week came in the Stevie Golding Harcourt's Canterbury Park Trotting Cup. His name is Sunday Sun. He's 2-4-2 this season. And, well, he was simply superb. He gets around the bends so very well, and he dashed past Majestic Man and ran away and hit.
20 left to go. Sunday Sun, he had to sit part, but it didn't worry him. The Stevie Golding Harcourt's Canterbury Park Trotting Cup is all over. Sunday Sun way too good, won it by 4. Majestic Man second, Overzealous third.
Well, that was just an exciting watch.
Yeah, it was, Greg, you know, and it's as we'll talk about, when he's in that form, he is nearly unbeatable.
He did have to sit park tonight, but Johnny just let him relax, get in his rhythm, and when he lit him up from about the 500, gee, just powered over the top of a pretty fair animal, Majestic Man.
Yeah, he did, and that's one of the beauties of him. When you train him down the beach, and Craig Edmonds drives him all the time, and he just relaxes, and you can sit outside another horse and he just goes to sleep until you want him to go. So he's a true racehorse, and when you can do that to a horse like Majestic Man, as you said, it's a pretty good effort, and he's no slug. And I've got home 56, and I'd say not a nice night. Yeah. So looking forward to going through the Dominion now.
Righto, pathway. We've got to work back from the Dominion, because that's your ultimate goal. Therefore, there's a bit of thinking to do, isn't it?
Yeah, there is. Actually, Colin and I and Johnny had a talk the other day about it, and Craig, and we come up with nothing. Yeah. Yeah. We just couldn't, so we thought, well, Siri goes tonight. That's what we did say. Yep. Siri goes tonight and then go forward. So he's got options, of course, and he's beginning so good from the stand at the moment. You know, we all know this horse can go pretty quickly and do things wrong. So we've got to be guided by him, and we don't really have to, he's proved he doesn't have to race every week in and week out to be competitive. So I think it's going to be smart for us to sit down, as 4 of us sit down, and of course our vet, Sam Taylor, who's been a big part of getting him right, and just work through the Dominion now.
All right, and we now know, Michael, there's no Ashburton Flying Mile for him. He's looking to join Basildine and Lyle Creek, the only 2 horses to go Ordeal, Canterbury Park and Dominion, but as long as they keep him in that sort of form, he's clearly the one to beat.
Yeah, he is. I think when he races like that and he's pain-free and his head's in the right spot, Greg, he's just better than not only these horses, but I would say he would be at least as good, if not better, than Tornado Valley and Dance Craze, who are the best two Australians. He's a very good horse, very unconventional looking horse for a top grade trotter. He has a very low knee lift in front. He's not extravagant. I still don't trust him, but that's not his fault, Greg. I think sometimes his little body betrays him. I'm not sure we're going to see too many versions of him before the Dominion, and that's the tricky thing for punters, because they're not going to know whether he's in that type of form. Maybe he'll go to a Cup trial, Greg, and we can see how he comes through the line. But at the moment, clearly the one to beat in any race he's going to be in. And we also talk about these 4-year-old trotters we'll preview later on at Alexandra Park. They're really good, Greg, but the best version of him would beat the 4-year-olds, I have absolutely no doubt. So I think the question for them is, how do they get there? Standing starts will be the obvious way, and more importantly, can they keep him in that form, not just through the Dominion, Greg, but of course through all the feature races coming up at Alexandra Park on the other side, because he's so proven going right-handed. Is there a horse who can test him? Is there something there which could beat him in that sort of form?
Not in that sort of form, no. And he'll probably go to Kaikoura, who are going to be a big benefactor of some pretty good horses going there, of course, the first Monday in November. So he'll go there and then straight into the Dominion from what Robert told me yesterday. And Harchel Khan, by the way, scratched out of Addington Thursday night. I think he might be making his way to Melbourne. Let's have a look at the markets for the Trotters Flying Mile. Obviously, he comes out of that, Michael, so that means Majestic Man is the favourite for this. Habibi Inter will definitely be improved off the back of that run. The likes of Heavyweight Hero and Muscle Mountain, who we'll see later on, was awesome too. So it'll be a good contest, even without Sunday Sun.
I think Majestic Man is becoming the perfect horse for these short trips. He has gate speed, he likes to run hard, he doesn't seem to like being restrained anymore. He's a natural leader, he's favourite for the Ashburton Flying Mile every day of the week. They could run it, Greg. Anyway, it doesn't matter who turned up away from Sunday Sun, he'll be favourite for that. Horse I need to ask you about is Winterfell. Mark Purdon thought he was winning the battle left-handed. He was better for a large part of the race, but gee, you'd be a brave punter to be backing Winterfell left-handed anytime soon.
Yep, you'll be waiting for him to get up to Auckland the way he's going at the moment, that is for sure. The Dominion market sees obviously the favourite being Sunday Sun at around $2.70. Let's move from the Majestic Sun Dominion on to our big bangers pacing-wise. The Lamb and Hayward Canterbury Classic, of course, was the feature pace. The top 3 home in this all guaranteed a start in the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. Let's get Matthew Cross to bring them home as the favourite for this, and the Cup delivers again.
Took over. Self-Assured moves up the outside from Classy Brigade, but it's Self-Assured in perfect harmony, getting away in the Canterbury Classic. Self-Assured back on track, too good. Self-Assured beat Spankum 30, the Classy Brigade, or Tango Tara, who hit the line well. Then came Nandolo.
So some very good performances in that one. Let's get to Mark Purdon around his thoughts about the winner, Self-Assured, and those that finished him behind. Back on track.
Yeah, for sure, Greg. Yeah, very pleased with his standing start manners tonight, and from there on, he was faultless.
You made that minor gear adjustment just to help him keep his head settled, and that clearly is helping at the start, as was evident at the trials and now on race day.
That's right, Greg. I know last time when he did make that mistake, he got his head up and you just got no control. So he's learning a little bit of respect anyway, just holding him in place.
And a good thing for him tonight. He got to follow Spankum, got his confidence up. He let down really nicely. The time was good. So all things going forward are pretty positive.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great time. It sort of surprised me the way he felt and the way he did it.
Right. What's the plan from here? Because there's a few options, isn't there?
That's right, yeah. There's about 3 weeks, I think, to Ashburton, and there's Methven in between, so I might just think about it over the weekend and make a call whether we go there on Monday.
Not a lot to dislike about that first up run.
No, Greg, I thought it was super, actually. It's sort of just a bit unlucky. I lobbed right in the middle there, and I sort of couldn't stay in, and I had to go, and the pace, was only going to go on from there. But, look, he stuck to his guns really good, and it took Self-Assured to run past him, and he had a beaut trip. So, no, I honestly couldn't be happier.
With the amount of time he's had away from the racetrack, the 3 trials and now a run, we know there's a lot of improvement there.
Oh, most definitely. He's a little fatty anyway. He's a lot bigger, stronger horse this time in. I think it'll take him probably another run or 2 to sort of get to his peak. And what I saw tonight, I'm really quite confident, and another run under his belt and he'll be spot on.
All right, there's more than 3 weeks to the Ashburton Flying Stakes. There's a bit of thought has to go into, do you need another run before you head there?
Yeah, most definitely, Greg. We'll just sort of, make sure he seems to have pulled up really good. We just probably wanted to get through his first run, then reassess. We didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So we'll have a good look now at the programs and see what we do, whether we race again, whether we trial, or whether we just go straight to Ashburton.
Jimmy's gone great again.
He has, Greg, yeah. No, I thought he'd go a good race, but to get the first 3 is really good, yeah.
Not only to get in the first 3, but that guarantees him a start in the IRT New Zealand Cup and will be your first runner in the Cup as a trainer.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, he probably has to go there now, I suppose, but he's racing really good time-wise and everything, so he can't be more pleased.
Jim, they've reeled off a 54-second last half and he's just kept on coming, so his progression's been quite marked this time in, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, he's been running really good times, and he's done a few things wrong in some of his races, which hasn't helped him. But yeah, when he does things right, he's usually thereabouts. But racing against the good ones tonight was a big test, so yeah, big help.
Big thrill for you. Sandy, she had a tear in her eye once she realised you'd run third, and of course your owner Russell Napier has been with you for a wee while. This will be big for him too.
Yeah, well, that's right. Like Franco Emery, he never made it. Once he wouldn't go away, and then the other year he broke down. So, yeah, touch wood, this one will get there.
All right. Where are we likely to see him next?
Well, he was going to go to Methven next week. We'll just see about that. And then Methven and possibly Kaikoura.
Well, that was run a little bit differently than most expected.
Yeah, definitely. Step quick like he usually does, and then have to take a trail and, like you say, quick last halves and quarters. So he's doing good. I sort of got held up enough to be a pain in the ass at the top of the straight. So, so he's still good.
All right. What do we do from here? What's the pathway? Have you got a fixed path?
No, we haven't actually, but like I keep saying, he's a great doing horse, and he sort of needs these hard races. He hasn't copped like last time. Hannon wasn't a real hard race, and then today they've just bowled around and run a quick half and quarter. So he needs to run, so it might be every dogfight.
So that were the thoughts of those just in behind Self-Assured. Michael, big moment obviously for Jim Curtin, never having trained a horse that's qualified for the New Zealand Cup before. So by finishing third, Tango Tara, he'll be there now. So he makes his way to Methven. We'll have a look at that field a little bit later on. The fixer out of that, spoke to Regan Todd. He fibulated. He didn't have to get any assistance from the vet. His rhythm came back the next morning, so that means they can continue on their preparation. Again, not ideal, and he wasn't totally sure where he'd head next. Probably Addington next Friday night, where he'll start off the back mark. And Self-Assured, he did have a gallop into the Showgrounds Bend the first time, which was, well, no real reason for it. So he's still a little bit quirky at the moment, but ultimately he was just too good.
Yeah, and he was back there behind all the rubbish. There was grit coming back in his face and horses he had to dodge. So willing to forgive him. He's probably going to be in the same position in the New Zealand Cup because he's going to be off the unruly. What he did show was, though, is he's just better than all of those horses, with Spankham clearly able to improve. It was his first run for 10 months. It's impossible to think anything behind those two, Gregory, excuse me, could beat those two home, one would think. Well done to Jimmy for getting Tango Tara into the race. But, yeah, for that bunch of horses, Self-Assured will beat them every day of the week. He's able to pace away, which he did very well. So the move to the unruly after the Rangiora trial into the race last Friday night, Greg, seems to have solved that problem. So, yep, he'll be the best of the Southerners in the Cup. The question mark is how much more Spanking can improve, because he had to sit parked, fresh up, and you would suggest he would, being an older horse, maybe have 2 or 3 lengths in him, Greg. So outside of them, it's really hard to make a case for any of those other horses being in the winner's circle on Cup Day, and that's not being rude to them. It's more an ode to the ability of the winner and, of course, the second horse.
Let's have a look at the market for the Cup, and he is a dominant favourite as we would expect, self-assured. The move though has come for Spankham. I thought he was excellent. He will improve when we have a look at that Methven race very shortly. So 210 self-assured, 350 Spankham, 424. Copy that, and of course the road, the IRT road to the New Zealand Trotting Cup continues this week to Methven Michael, and a big bonus for the team out there at the Mount Harding, of course. Not only the Cup favourite, but his stablemate and rival in Spankham. So self-assured and Spankham both off the 30 metres, and this will be a really good test for them though. It's not easy to come off a long mark there, and with the likes of Wild Excuse, who we'll see shortly, rolling along in front, they'll be burning here.
Look, they will. I think being back there together aids them, because once one moves, almost certainly the other will move, and they're both good enough to move, so one of them's going to get towed into the race by the other. It's one of those weird things where when I first heard they were going to Methven, I was kind of surprised, but going back over the Methven Cup's history in the last 15 years, it's become quite common. Of course, Cruz Bromack went there 2 years ago, not the year he won the Cup. Smolder went there 4 years ago. Flashing Red's the only horse to win the Methven Cup and then win the New Zealand Cup. That was back in 2006. But the roll call of horses who go there, Greg, are very good, which is a wonderful sort of compliment to the track there at Methven. I think one of them will still win, but I agree with you. It could be an uncomfortable watch at some stage, because those horses off the front line will know the only way to beat them is to keep rolling. So I don't think it's going to be a case of the All-Stars just rolling around the field and rolling to the front. A lot of trainers will tell you, Greg, and obviously you're from a horse family, that the grass track will help calm horses down and sometimes help with their manners. That's probably a good thing for self-assured. And I think this race has become part of the New Zealand Cup build-up for so many more trainers, Greg, because it doesn't hurt them. It's soft on their hooves, it's softer on their joints. So, yeah, it's great to see us having a grass track lead-up race, Greg, because it would be the only major harness race in the world that has that.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to getting out there on Sunday. $10,000 guaranteed first fours in each race, and we know they get bonus first fours. It's also the Brown Pub Punter of the Year. So last Friday night at Addington, I caught up with club representative in Nigel Armstrong to find out what that was all about. Well, in terms of the most significant meeting of the season, this is clearly it for Methven.
Absolutely, the punters competition and the the Methven Cup.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Brown Pub Punters Comp, because your club, you realise how significant it is. I know there's not the incentives there now with the current setup of the NZTAB, but your club recognises the punters and the supporters you've had over many years.
Absolutely, we've had great supporters from the punters, and it's fantastic that it's an industry-wide thing, and that's what we're more involved with, looking after the whole industry.
Right, tell me about how people get involved and what they're playing for.
Well, it's 2,500 this year. It's a wee drop in from last year, but I think 2.5 look great in my account. It's $50 a race, and it's all races. So at this stage, we've got 11 carded, 25 minutes between races, which is a bonus. So we're going to have to think on our feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is a competition, a contest that you've actually had a bit of success in.
Yeah, I've had 3 wins in it so far. I think if I win the 4th, I get to keep the cup. Right. Well, that's a rule that I've brought in.
You've come up with?
Yeah.
No, fair enough. So the best place to go is Methven Trotting Club website. Get on there, all the details, and you'll accept as many teams as possible.
Certainly will, and along with the entry, I mean, it's free entry other than the punting money, but we do provide a good lot of hospitality to our punters. Yeah. They're well looked after. Oh,
it'll be a great day out, I'm sure. All the very best to you in the club.
Thank you very much, Greg, and I hope to see lots of you punters out there. Good luck for running 3rd or 4th or 2nd. You just won't win.
He's a bit of a character, is Nigel, and there's a challenge for you to take him on. Wild Excuse, of course, got the business done at Addington Raceway last Friday night as well in 3:10. She takes her place in the Methven Cup, and looking forward to seeing her, particularly if she is able to roll to the top. So let's have a look at that performance out of Addington and hear from her rather happy owner post-race.
Wild Excuse, 2 lengths, Belmont Major. Can he run her down? Then came JT Tyrone. Belmont Major trying to get to Wild Excuse. Wild Excuse and net Belmont Major. Wild Excuse ahead, Belmont Major. Wild Excuse keeps going. Wild Excuse will win. Wild Excuse beat Belmont Major. What a brave win.
Well, you were hopeful of a performance like that, and you got it.
Yeah, we were very hopeful, Greg, and we were very confident tonight. And she's a lot better this week, so went our way. So yeah, so we're very happy with her.
Look, it's great when she has the ability to make her own luck. You went 3:10 and she worked hard, and it was pretty windy out there.
Yeah, it was very windy. And the Gav got the word this week to extend her and see what she could do. So we did that, and she went as good as she can go pretty well.
All right. I know she's probably not at fever pitch yet. What's the plan from here, or is there one?
We were thinking about going to the Methven Cup next week, but we're hoping for a mayor's concession, so we'll just see what comes of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so maybe Methven Cup.
All right. Well, congratulations, Ronnie. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, she's in the Methven Cup. She's off the front and she'll give you one heck of a sight. We're about to go to a break, but I thought we need to go to these couple of races from Addington Raceway. Watch Me Now. Absolutely outstanding. Spoke to Kirsten Barclay. She will make her way to the Southland Oaks, and on this performance will be incredibly hard to beat in that. She dominates them. The other one we wanted to have a look at was Majestic Lavros, who was also outstanding. Let's have a look at those as we head to a break.
Lead to length, Tyron's Bit of Lemon with 2 lengths to make up then Plutonium Lady. The Southerners going well though. Watch Me Now, found a kick and a good one at that, got right away. Watch Me Now, 100 metres to go, 3 or 4 Tyron's Bit of Lemon, then Plutonium Lady, but Kirsten Barclay was oh so confident, she pricked the ears as well. Watch Me Now won it easily, beat Plutonium Lady. Muscle Mountain and got away. Majestic Lavros, 200 metres to go, 3 clear of Phoebe Onyx, running on Muscle Mountain with American Pride, 100 metres out. It's all Majestic Lavros. A nice return to the racetrack here. Did it all on his own up front as well. He's too good. Majestic Lavros 1.5. Muscle Mountain closed late. A nice 7 off the 20.
Welcome back into your box seat. Let's head across the Tasman with our good friends from Garrard. Smoking Up Sprint it was. Rishi takes it out, bred by Paul and Pauline Renwick here in New Zealand, developed by Craig Edmonds. That's one of the stories out of this race, Michael, but there was another rather large one.
Yeah, there was. As we see Rishi coming down the outside, the horse 2 off the marker pegs is the Fading Ride High. Went around $1.10. There had been a lot of suggestion he wasn't at his best because no one in the camp was talking. Well, it turned out that was the case. He's had a suspensory injury, is out of the Victoria Cup, and Greg, I get a feeling, I have no basis for this, but my feeling is we may not see the best of Ride High. He just hits the ground quite hard. He's had leg issues in the past, and yes, he's out of the Victoria Cup this week after that very below par performance.
Yeah, it's hard to knock a horse that's won 17 from 19 though, and I totally agree with you around that. What about the Victoria Cup? Barrier draws come up, some big winners here, the likes of Belraj. Lochinvar, is he a winner drawing barrier 4 with so many speedy horses around him?
Look, he's got 5 Craig Cross, which is the Luke McCarthy stable horses on the front line, and him in the middle. That's not going to help. He has gate speed inside him, outside him. He's probably the best horse in the race, but gee, it's going to be a tricky race. Victoria Cup Saturday night on trackside 1. Maybe Belraj is the horse to beat now, but the Victoria Cup tends to be very marker dominated. So very much the horses on the markers have an advantage. It depends whether Cash and Flow gets across them from out wide, or David Moran can potentially punch up and lead on Lochinvar Art. And even if he does, I think there'll be attackers, Greg. This is going to be a really good race, but I want to be on the horses on the marker pegs. I just don't know who they're going to be yet.
The reigning New Zealand Cup champion, of course, is in there, and Cruz Bromack, and I guess how he goes will determine whether he comes to defend that title. Let's have a look at Dance Craze and what she was able to do. She's won more than half of her starts, Michael, and she picks up Tornado Valley, but we know she's always been of top quality.
Yeah, she's bred to be good. She's had a La Cucaracha who won the Rowe Cup, and she's very, very fast. I think she's probably as good as any trotter in Australasia, with the exception of the best version of Sunday Sun. She could definitely come to Addington and beat our best horses under the right circumstances, but those circumstances won't be happening this year. But of course, she's already won a Great Southern Star. So, Greg, I think the Trotters, both sides of the Tasman, relatively evenly matched. The question is whether the days of Tornado Valley are behind us. Not willing to give up on him just yet. He hasn't had a lot of front row draws this campaign.
No, and he takes his place along with Dance Craze in the Bill Collins this week. A horse that is likely to come back to defend its New Zealand trotting free-for-all title, of course, is Tough Monarch. Was simply too good at Menangle last week. An outstanding performance in 56.3 mile rate. We know what he was capable of doing when we saw him on Cup Day last year, and if he's in this form, he'll be hard to beat again.
Yeah, won the free-for-all, ran second in the Dominion. Look, these horses he's beating aren't any superstars compared to what we have here, but he's a good, tough horse. We know he can travel. They're suggesting they'll come across with him, or sorry, they'll send him across more than likely to the Nathan Perd and Chrissy Dalgety team. So good chance Tough Monarch turns up, Greg. And it's easy to poo-poo that form, but he's proven he could be a star at Group 1 level over Cup Week.
Speaking of stars, Michael, you tipped us a couple out with Cambridge Raceway, a great supporter of our show. Both of them won. We'll have a look at those in a moment. Joe Stevens trained a treble. That's not an easy thing to do, of course, partner of Dylan Ferguson. So congratulations to Joe, and they were, the first couple anyway, were long odds.
Yeah, she's a really nice young lady, and she's working really hard on the social media scene to give people who watch shows like this some of the background of the people who win races at Alexandra Park in Cambridge. You need people like Jo in the industry. It's good to have her training horses, but you also need people who are enthusiastic and outgoing. So I've only got to know her this year. A very impressive young lady training a treble with what wouldn't be a big team. That's also pretty impressive. So yeah, big night for the Stevens-Ferguson team, we'll call them, out of Cambridge.
Yeah, and you did the business for us. We asked for a couple of winners. We're trying to deliver them on this show, and we found some do, or you did, at $3 and Credit Master. As we go to another break, let's take in their winning performances and the multi, if you played into it, at around 15 to 1.
Albeit off a 55-metre back mark, and he's going to do that in sensational fashion. Good to see him back in winning form, Credit Master. Holiday and thundering home about turns, going to blouse them out right down the outskirts of Cambridge Raceway. Oh, I think he might have about turned some do. It's very, very tight though, and they are wide apart.
Welcome back into your Box C. We're going to try and do this each and every week. Catch up with Matt Peden from the TAB Bookmakers Desk. Thanks so much for your time, Matthew. Now, when I spoke to you August, September, the book was going really well. Tell me about the last couple of weeks. Are the punters starting to get some momentum leading towards the carnival?
Greg, good to be joining you too. If we can forget about Mochi Carrara last week, I'd happily say that the book's doing well, but we had a bit of an off day there, so punters finally clawed one back.
All right, let's talk about what's been happening in the futures markets around the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. We know there was early money for Copy That. We obviously know there's been some money for Spankum. Has there been any others spec'd?
Yeah, you're right. Copy That was backed early and opened up favourite, obviously with the doubt surrounding Spankum and Silver Shore with that small mishap that they both had. But with the resumption of Spankum last week and Silver Shore's really good win, they're both dominating the market, 210 Silver Shore and 350 for Spankum, and they're still basically taking the prices for each of them.
All right, they're both going to Methven. We'll talk about that in a moment. What about Dominion-wise? Sunday Sun could not have been more impressive in his first two runs back.
Yeah, and that sent him into a $2.70 favourite. It's starting to get to a point, though, where they don't want to be on him, but they don't want to be on anything else to beat him either, which is probably a reflection that if Sunday Sun turns up on the day and does everything right, the punters do expect him to win, but there's that element of doubt surrounding that.
We have heard from Robert Dunn that they're going to bypass the Flying Mile at Ashburton, go to Kaikoura and then straight into the Dominion, so no free-for-all either. That should give the punters some clarity around those races?
Yeah, that's right. Ashburton Trotters Flying Mile, that's seen Majestic Man firm into $3.50 off the back of that news. Habibi into Heavyweight Hero and Muscle Mountain into $4.60 on the second line.
All right, we've also got the Graphite Developments, the Kennards Show Day for Charity. There's been some movement in that market, hasn't there?
Yeah, it's been one of the more popular markets in terms of Cup Week, mostly around that middle market. Soviet Star, we opened up at $21, I should say, and he was quite good on debut. It's been a constant flow of money for him, now into $9. Magical Mali opened up at $17 now with Robert Dunn. Hit 21 back into 17's been well supported too. But the big mover this morning, not a big mover, but quite some significant money came for Go Paddy, $6 into $5.50 for All Stars.
Yep, and did trial really nicely at Ashburton. The big races coming up Thursday and Friday night around the age group stars. Let's talk about Krug versus It's All About Faith. Reverse the draws this time. This could be more interesting and perhaps a little bit closer than the $4 It's All About Faith, $1.45 for Krug.
It was quite a tricky race to price because obviously Krug had It's All About Faith's measure last start trailing him. And look, knowing what they're going to do with Krug, whether or not he slides forward, which you think's a significantly good chance or not, but It's All About Faith should be able to trail him at worst. You'd think that the $4 could potentially pose a little bit of value. At the moment, the money's with Pace and Pride, but it's only a fresh market and there's not a great deal about.
Neville Heat, you're giving the punters a chance. The 3-year-old filly of the year almost took out the horse of the year title, Amazing Dream, 210.
Yeah, a little bit of a tricky one to assess. Obviously, first up since racing at Albion Park at the end of August, hasn't trialled, hasn't been to the workouts. We know she's probably the best horse in the field, but she's taking on an informed Niju now who went 222.6 in front last start. So you'd think with her good gate speed and over the short course, if she jumped on the bunny, she might give Amazing Dream something to think about fresh up.
They said to Alexandra Park, the Trotters, now 4, go to war. There's only 5 of them, but what a contest. Bolt for Brilliance, early money too, pre the barrier draw.
Yeah, yesterday morning, just before nominations closed, 2,000 at $2.25. Once the barrier draws come out, he's actually open 230, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him start somewhat shorter than that, just given the reputation that he's got in the north.
Are you expecting money for both Cracker Hill and Ultimate Stride, though?
Well, it's a tough one to gauge. Both performed well at the workouts on Friday at Pukekohe, but I suppose the local money will probably be with Tony and Bolt for Brilliance.
He does have the home track advantage. Copy that, $1.65. Sounds about right.
Yeah, you'd expect that taking on a field like this, given what's ahead of him, he'd hopefully take care of. But stranger things have happened with runners off 30 metres. So if South Coast Arden happened to get on the bunny and roll them along, then you never know. But you'd think $1.65 could be a slice of value based on what he's done in the past 2 or 3 months.
Big thanks to Matt Peden. We'll try and get that info from him each and every week. Let's move to our preview. Alexandra Park is where we head, and the first of our features, $85,000 for the 4-year-old Trotters. And we're going to have a look, Michael, at a hot field, even though there's only a handful of them.
Oh, it's a beauty. These are open class horses, 3 of them pretty much already, maybe even 4 of them if you had Midnight Dash. And one Magic Kenny's going to make his way to open class pretty darn quickly. Cracker Hill and Ultimate Stride both went to the workouts here last week at Pukekohe. They weren't pressured in any way. They're the second and third last horses at this stage. Taking on the paces, that's Ultimate Stride working his way into 4th in the Dickey colours because Josh will drive this week. Cracker Hill outside him. I think they'll be in vastly different positions this week, Greg. I think Cracker Hill will lead off the gate, and I think he'll need to because he's not quite as comfortable right-handed. So I spoke to Brad Williamson, who's looking after Ultimate Stride for his father, Phil. He's thinking they could lead. He wants to stay there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lead trail scenario. The question is, are they good enough to beat Bolt for Brilliance? They're both very, very good, but he has the home track advantage, Greg. He's been in stunning form. I think he deserves to be the favourite. I think the 2.3 with the book is too short, but I do think that he has more going for him leading into this race than the Southerners do, just for the fact it's their first ever start at Alexandra Park.
So the market for that featured trot, $2.30 for Bolt for Brilliance, and then $2.80 for Cracker Hill, and out to about $3.70 for Ultimate Stride. Let's go on to the other feature, being the Holmes DG Cup contenders. Mark Shard, of course, was successful in the Spring Cup. We'll have a look at that now, along with the performance of Copy That. Michael, there wasn't a whole lot between them at the end, and are we expecting Copy That to be sharper for this week?
I think so, Greg, but he's got the same problem. That's he's going to have to come potentially from behind a horse like Mark Shard. He's drawn one on the 30-metre mark, which means he could be in a little bit of traffic early doors. Clearly he's still the best of the Northerners, but I have spoken to Barry Purdon. Mark Shard's improved since the last run. If he gets in front of Copy That, he's got some chance of beating him again. Bella Montana, who finishes third in this race on the inside, will miss this week, and she'll stay around for October 23rd at Alexandra Park. But Mark Shard's likely to miss that race because it's mobile and head to Ashburton. Copy That on top, Greg, can't take $1.65 because one off 30 metres means traffic, and also handling that last bend could again be a slight concern.
All right, looking forward to that Friday night. The precursor to that is Addington Raceway. Once again, a big thanks to them for their support of the box seat. And we have a serious horse returning to the track. We were going to have a couple. Unfortunately, Stylish Memphis has come out, but we are looking forward to seeing Amazing Dream take her place in the Neville R Heat, Michael. And she got close to winning the national title as the Horse of the Year. How forward will she be? She had a win, of course, in Queensland before coming home, but we haven't seen her at the workouts or trials.
No, but the racing in Queensland's pretty hard. They run pretty quick times. She'll be forward enough. And let's not forget, when she's at home, Greg, she can work with some very, very good horses. Need You Now's beaten her before, so it's not impossible to see that happening again. Clearly, she's in form, and she doesn't have to travel or do all the other things Amazing Dream does, but Amazing Dream has so far been better than this filly, now mare. When you watch this, Greg, though, maybe Need You Now has been the big improver in this crop. Interesting race coming up for a Thursday night.
Yeah, and she's very fast, Need You Now, and on that occasion she rated 156, and very much like La Rosa we looked at earlier, when they're in on the markers going that speed, very hard to run past. But speaking of speed, the Woodlands first heat of the Sires Stakes at Addington features the two benchmark, or really, Krug's the benchmark, and It's All About Faith is obviously a very good horse. They went round in the Sale Series final last time. This time though, Michael, we reversed the barrier draws, and will that be enough to see It's All About Faith? The market suggests it is, $4 into $3.20.
What a bizarre market this is. Krug was $1.55-ish to win from barrier 1 last time, and It's All About Faith had to come round it. Now he's the same odds from barrier 5. It doesn't make any sense at all. Absolutely none. Oh, he's a wonderful horse. He's the best horse in this crop. Here's the race I'm talking to you about. He was $1.45, 55 on opening to win this race, where he was never going to leave the marker pegs, and here he is running past It's All About Faith. This time It's All About Faith's got barrier 1. I think he'll lead, and I think he's got a chance to dominate the race. Is he good enough to beat Krug? Well, I presume so. At $3.20 and from $4, I think he's worth a bet, Greg. I think this is his best chance to beat Krug, and I'll probably be backing him. $4 was better than $3.20. I just think Krug is way too short here, Greg, because he's going to need to work to get to the marker pegs, and I don't see him getting there in front of It's All About Faith.
All right, looking forward to the action Thursday night and, of course, Friday and then into Sunday. So with the Victoria Cup on Saturday night, if you're a harness fan, this is certainly a weekend or a week ahead for you. Michael, opportunity for us to have a chat about a couple of things that have happened recently in harness racing, starting with the new whip rule. And I actually spoke to Nick Ergren about that earlier in the week. So basically you can't take your hand off the rein now with the stick, and it's a tapping motion as opposed to a raising of the arm motion. I note there's been a whole lot of warnings, and there's a bit of an amnesty period, which I applaud, because it should be about education as opposed to prosecution, particularly when you make a significant change like they have. What do you make of it?
I think it's good. I think mainly the whip is there as a safety tool. Yes, some horses needed to keep them on the job. I think our drivers have changed their attitude as society has changed. I don't think it does any harm, and I don't think it affects anybody. And these days, when you see somebody put their shoulder at the back and really get into a horse, it jars you as it should. So moving in the right direction with the whip rule. Some people might take a bit longer to get used to it, but they're the rules, so it wouldn't take too long.
As we're only 3 shows into the new season of the box seat, we haven't had a chance to talk about the most significant move, if you like, from Harness Racing Australia, going with the calendar year in terms of their harness racing season. So 1 January through to 31 December. The big question for you, Michael Guerin, is should New Zealand follow suit?
No, I don't think we need to. I think Australian harness racing does a lot of wacky things from time to time. We don't need to be jumping on board every time they do something. I don't think it'll matter that much. I think we're seeing already with this COVID season that 2 and 3 year olds bouncing around between different age groups for these delayed races. People just bet as they want to bet. I don't really know why they changed it. I think it's so they can have feature races later into the summer, Greg, but they could have programmed those anytime they want, so I wouldn't have done it.
All right, I suppose it does mean that, like you say, the end-of-season championship, if you like, the Breeders' Crown is held in the summer months. It has the potential to bring some more people, warmer conditions, all of those sorts of things. But if that's the only reason you're doing it, yeah, I concur with you. It's not entirely justifiable. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the new competition on show day. It's not a new punting competition because Addington have run them that day before, but the box seat punters competition. We've decided to sponsor it and put a team into it, Michael. It costs $600. The Maya Foundation are going to be the benefactors if you and I are good enough to make some money for them, but we're saying to the punters out there, come and get us, come and take us on. It's always a tough day, punting show day, but it'll be a great one for them to be involved in.
Look, it's going to be a hell of a cup week because everybody needs to blow out, Greg. We're all sick of all the COVID restrictions and hopefully everything's sweet for that. So, yeah, really good chance to come along and have a proper day's punting. So check out addington.co.nz to work out what's going to happen with that. But yeah, come along, have a crack at us on the Friday. Just mentioning Addington, Greg, one of the greats of Addington Raceway, former Christchurch Press trotting editor Jeff Scott has been sick lately. Jeff's had a tough week. I spoke to Nick last night. Scotty, we're all thinking of you, buddy. Hang in there, mate. Without your contribution to this wonderful industry, lots and lots of people wouldn't have had their first ever story written about them. They wouldn't have had that story to put away in the scrapbook. They wouldn't have had a chance to celebrate their wins. So you are a huge part of the harness racing industry, Jeffrey, and we, all of us, collectively are thinking of you, mate.
Yeah, well said, Michael. He's a great man, Jeff. He was a huge part of my early career, and certainly the thoughts are with Jeff and Nick at this pretty tough time for their family. Michael, I'm with Need You Now this week. I think she can beat Amazing Dream in a fresh condition, and I'm happy to take those odds. What about for you? Are you with It's All About Faith, or can you find us another one?
I like It's All About Faith. I think he gets his chance this week. I think the market's wrong. I'm not saying he's just going to turn up and beat Krug, but I think it's a great weekend for the punters, Greg. So much to look forward to, and there's so much to discuss next week. We're ticking down to that New Zealand Cup, Gregory. The COVID or 2020 have taught me one thing: there's usually a twist in the tail. I've got a funny feeling somewhere between now, that second Tuesday in November, Gregory, there's going to be another twist coming up.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be a few. Of course, we've got Ashburton Labour Weekend, we've got Kaikoura, and then into the big week. So a lot to look forward to for you. That's been your box seat. A big thank you once again to our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Brecken Farms, Harness Race New Zealand IRT, Stonewall Stud and Stables, Garrards, the clubs Addington, Alexandra Park, Cambridge and Ashburton. That's been your box seat for another week. Enjoy your harness racing week ahead, Michael. I know you will.